Cool, they're like twigs and burgundy flowers. And when they're pollinated, they have this little group of, they look like pencil lead. And each one of those is a fruit. And when that's pollinated, they start growing in together. And there was a whole, usually you want 2 or 3 or 4 in a hang. That's what that group is called. But these all, it was such a really weird spring. So see, they've got 5 and 6 in there and 7. And I probably, when they were little, I probably should have gotten those out, you know, like the smaller ones, and then the bigger ones would have gotten bigger. But this is a light harvest this year because the spring was so wet and pollinators couldn't fly back and forth. And they had a lot of them were sort of washed out, I think. Anyway, it was a weird year. But when you're a farmer and you're working with Mother Nature, you just keep on going, you know. Weird year or not, you just keep on going. So, then this one was a volunteer, and we think this one came from a seed, not from the roots. See, this is a little bitty. That's a little sucker. Oops, that's a little sucker. All those little guys are suckers off of the tree roots, and that's what makes the pawpaw patch in the wild. You know, you've heard of a pawpaw patch. That's what makes the patch in the wild, but you don't want those because they're suckering energy off of the mother tree. So we have a heart trap right there. Yeah. Y'all know what a heart trap is? It traps pests without hurting them.
Oh,
you know, so we trapped 2 raccoons at once. I want you to know, 2 at once. It was nuts. Wow. In that cage a couple last week, and then we relocated them away from the pawpaw trees. But it catches pests without hurting.
Yeah.
It's called heart. Then you can take them away.
So you said like you have a problem with like raccoons or?
Well, and possums.
Possums?
Yeah.
Will they eat the?
Yes.
Possums?
Yes.
Really?
As a matter of fact, when we first realized we had a problem, you could see fruit on the ground, and some of them were still hanging with bites out of them. You know, oh no, you don't. But they're the only things that really eat them. Deer don't eat them. The leaves taste terrible. The only thing that really eats them is, and I don't know if we've had one here or not, it kind of looks like it, is this is the only host plant to a zebra swallowtail butterfly. Kind of like milkweeds and monarchs, you know that symbiosis thing right there. So this is the only plant that a zebra swallowtail butterfly will lay its eggs on, because when the caterpillar hatches, this is the only thing that it eats. And that butterfly is threatened, so even if you don't even like the fruit, you should grow the trees, because it's so great for that butterfly. So, and I planted them out in the sun, not even knowing what I was doing. Their natural habitat is in the forest as an understory tree. And then they grow tall and slender, and they don't, they're reaching for the light. But it's just like if you bring, a dogwood tree or an apple tree or whatever out into the light, they will thrive better to have more light, and they can make more blossoms and then make more fruit. So that's the orchard part of it.
Seeing a tree while you're not wasting soil. And then we kind of like gently scoop them up and then transfer them over into slightly larger or slightly smaller than those. They're right behind you. Someone wants to shop. They'll get placed to those. And then we did like 2-3 months? Once the roots start coming out of the bottom of those.
Like kids' camps to come pick them because we just had too many.
And sometimes I started with a little bit of...
Nice being out here. I didn't even know this area sounded existed.
Worth of production 1 year, and then the next year another 30 trees ought to go into production, and then another round of like 30 trees ought to go into production. so that each year she knows what to expect, and it gets a little bit gradually, I guess, harder. But these trees are not producing yet. I think we can expect them to start producing hopefully in another 3 years. That's the fun part, I guess, about orchard production is that you really, it's a waiting game. At the beginning of the year, the big ones at the top of the hill, like they were nice and perky, and then now all the limbs are like laying down because they're all heavy. Yeah, no, it makes it super easy. And they're such short trees. Everybody, this is Jack, and this is like my homie.
Here we come.
And he will probably love to get petted by you because he likes that attention.
So I didn't mean to just ruin your talk. Sorry.
Pause, like it'll upset your stomach. Interesting. So, but apparently the Native Americans that used to have a method of dehydrating pawpaws that wouldn't make you sick. And of course, we were really bad at killing people for no damn reason. Part of the information we lost is how to do that. So, but Andrew Moore writes about it. If you can get your hands on that book, it's so good. Because I mean, it even has a North Carolina section. I mean, he breaks it down. He does like a whole in-depth history, and then like up to like modern times and who's doing what with pawpaws. It's like a journey. Yeah. And if anybody wants any more